is Focus with Jack Cottle.
Good evening, I'm Jack Cottle. Welcome to this month's edition of Focus. Voters in Rapid City will go to the polls on Tuesday, June 7th, or June 2nd, to elect a new mayor in Rapid City. Also some city council races as well. The two candidates in that race with us here for the next hour. No questions prepared in advance, at least given to them. And Sam Kooiker grew up in Boynton, Iowa, holds a bachelor's and master's degree from the University of South Dakota, served on the Rapid City Council from 2002 to 2011, was elected mayor in 2011, won a second term in 2013, worked as the operations manager for Golden West Technology before winning the job as mayor here in Rapid City. His opponent this time, Steve Allender. He grew up in Belle Fourche, started his law enforcement career up in Belle, moved to Rapid City, spent 29 years with the Rapid City Police Department, worked his way up to chief, a position he held from 2007 to 2014, retired last year. He has a bachelor's degree in management, graduated from the FBI National Academy. Steve, we're going to start with you after all of that experience. Why did you decide to get into the race for mayor?
Well, I want to be mayor of Rapid City because I love this city. It's a great community. I've raised my family here. I've spent 30 years of my life here. I see the potential that Rapid City has, and it's not a perfect city. I think it can be better. The economy is in need of some help. We have taken a hit on the economy in the last 4 or 5 years. I think it's time to invest in our youth of our community. I think local government ought to be the most representative form of government of all the forms of government. And I want to work to that end. There's tremendous opportunities here in Rapid City, and I want to make sure that we take advantage of all of those.
How long was that thought process of thinking about it before you decided, I'm going to go for it?
Well, it was from mid to late summer right up until March of this year. So I put a lot of thought into it, got a lot of counsel on the topic, and a lot of soul searching.
Now, Sam Kooiker, you are running for your third term as mayor. You've been through 2 of these already. Why go for a third? What makes you want to continue to be mayor here?
Well, I believe in positive people-focused government, Jack. I believe that if you get the central theme in leadership, the central challenge is to figure out what your focus will be. And if you figure out what the focus is, the circumference of the circle takes care of itself. And in my case, I believe that people matter more than anything else, and I believe in positive people-focused government. I'm the candidate in the race that has articulated a vision, and my vision has 4 parts to it. The first part is continuing addressing our aging infrastructure issues, including streets and utilities, addressing the Civic Center issues in a theme consistent with the will expressed by the voters on March 10. In addition to that, continuing to streamline our processes to encourage and provide good customer service, and last but not least, continuing the efforts to improve race relations in our community.
Did you plan all along to run for a third term? Was there a point where you said, yep, I'm going to go for another one?
Well, my wife and I always take it one at a time, and I have her permission, and I'm excited about running again, and looking forward to asking the people of this community to vote for me on June 2.
So what do you feel like you bring to the position? What do you bring to the race?
Well, I'm the only candidate in the race that has business experience, and I have 8 years of progressive experience at Gateway Computers, 6 years at Golden West. I have a significant track record on the city council and as mayor, and I believe that things in our community are going on the right track. We've cut red tape to help encourage more growth in our community, and the key to growth, Jack, is knowing whether your local businesses are willing to expand and grow, and they are. We are seeing a tremendous growth in building permits, and recently this past March, just last month, we had the 3rd highest month of March on record since the year 2000, and last year was the 4th highest year on record, the 4th year in a row of over $200 million in building permits.
Steve, what do you feel like you bring to this position as mayor?
Well, I bring a number of years of management experience in government. I do have formal business training. I have a unique set of qualifications in terms of community problem solving, building relationships, building teams, and knowing how the system works and knowing how the system should work. And I've kept in close contact with the community, my customers, over the course of my career, especially as chief. There was a a lot of times where I was tired and weary, and the more contact with the community helped to remind me why I was there. I view myself as a public servant, and so I bring that heart, that commitment, and I also bring a desire to improve the situation we have.
Now, race relations was brought up. Obviously, race relations are kind of a tense point these days in Rapid City. Where do you see those stand, and what has to be done to improve that?
Well, to try anything we've tried in the past, there's been essentially the same process over the last 30 years since I've been paying attention on how to resolve the issue or to attain reconciliation. To go through a similar looking process as that does nothing more than predict further failure. We have to find a new way to address this issue, and I think aside from having professional help come in to deal with it, I think we've got to look for the root of those issues and not so much the symptoms.
What do you feel are the root issues? What is the root of the issue?
I think that's the whole question. That's the question of the day. We're currently waiting for the results of a study from USD, the Government Research Bureau, to help us understand what some of those issues are. And I think they're a lot to do with poverty and upbringing and the historical trauma among the Native Americans. There's many schools of thought among the Native community about what the issues are. And it's just not enough to hear opinions about it. We have to put some science to this whole process to try to get to the root. We don't even know for certain what we can make a solution for yet, because it's buried down deep in the details, and we've never been there before.
Sam, what do you see? When you talk about race relations in Rapid City, what do you see? And what do you see that needs to change?
Well, what I see is that the foundation of a relationship is respect, and the foundation of good race relations is developing relationships. And to that end, I believe that it's very important to, as a mayor, to make yourself available to everyone in the community, to develop relationships with our tribal governments and our local Native people. And I believe that it's our first responsibility to listen. And it's our first responsibility to develop relationships. Well, what's the point of that? Well, the point is that if you develop relationships and you have in your agenda to develop relationships, then the agenda develops. And that's where the foundation is. And so it's out of that conversation that then came the needs. Like, for example, taking our Human Relations Commission beyond the level of a think tank full of very nice people to actually being an organization that can do something about discrimination and racism in our community. Also, a longstanding need was recently addressed to have a polling place at Lakota Homes for the very first time, and actually for the very first time ever. And so it's very important that we have a mayor who listens and have a mayor who's willing to appoint Native people to boards, commissions, and committees. And I think it's also important to have a mayor who has a track record of respect and who doesn't have a history of making racial slurs and jokes. And I think that's very important. And I think I would like my opponent to answer the question that if he's elected mayor, would he knowingly hire someone with a track record of making racial slurs or jokes?
What are we, would you want to address what he's saying, or?
Well, of course I would. We hire human beings in these jobs. And I assume that the mayor is insinuating that he's never made such a terrible slur, but so I was subject of a lawsuit, something that happened 20 or 25 years ago that was alleged that I either laughed at or told Native American jokes 25 years ago. So we hire people with all kinds of things, with DUIs on their record, with theft charges, with all kinds of evidence of misbehavior. And we weigh into that, how far apart from that incident till now, and make a good hiring decision.
What is the mayor's role in fixing the racial issue here in town?
Well, the things that the mayor talked about here are largely surface issues, listening and building relationships. Mayors have been doing that for decades around here. And not that it's not important, it's just not effective in getting to the root causes and getting to a position where we can deal with the issues that need to be dealt with. Who knows? Who knows? I'll just say nobody knows, because no one's brought the issues that the Native American people bring to the table. Their issues, their baggage. And there is a lot of it. We know from Pine Ridge that there's, from the U.S. Census data, there's a high level of alcoholism among Native Americans. That creates a high level of contacts between the police and Native Americans in Rapid City. There's a high level of infant mortality rate. There's a high level of sickness and diabetes, and a low life expectancy on Pine Ridge. When there's a problem on Pine Ridge, we feel it in Rapid City and vice versa. So the whole mission here should be to get to the issues that we believe we can fix. And we can make friends all day and all night long. I did the same thing when I was police chief. I have a number of relationships with Native American folks. But when it comes down to it, we're dealing with anger and frustration. And those are symptoms of an underlying condition that we have virtually paid no attention to all these years.
Sam, what's the mayor's role in bringing race relations together here?
Well, I think the mayor has an ongoing role to be accessible, to listen, and the foundation is to develop relationships, Jack, because without relationships you can't get to step B. So people ask me, well, what's the point of building relationships? Well, my answer is the same as when people ask what's the point of doing research at the lab in Lead? Well, the point is you do research for the sake of research. Well, why do you do research for the sake of research? Well, you do research for the sake of research because you don't know where it leads. And it's the same, and hopefully it will lead to good things. Well, it's the same with Native relations. You build relationships, and you build it without having an immediate agenda. You build it for the sake of building it. And I believe that it's out of that we've come up with some very good proposals that have been passed unanimously by the City Council, including the creation of a polling place for Lakota homes, which is more than superficial. It's very important. We're now publishing our minutes in the Native Sun News for the first time ever. And we also have a Human Relations Commission that's been revitalized.
All right, we have to take a break. We'll continue with our look at the Rapid City Mayor's race when we come back with this month's edition of Focus. I'm Jack Cottle. Welcome back to this month's edition of Focus, previewing the June 2nd election for Rapid City Mayor. Incumbent Sam Kooiker is here, along with his challenger Steve Allender, the retired Rapid City Police Chief. You know, the Civic Center expansion, probably one of the biggest issues we've seen here in Rapid City in a long, long time. $180 million plan went to a public vote. That was soundly defeated. And now, where do we go from here? I guess we're going to start with you, Sam, as you look back at that process of bringing that to a public vote. Did that process go the way you felt it should have gone?
Well, in terms of the outcome, no. But in terms of the result, I believe it's important to embrace the result, and I do. And similar to the leadership that Mayor Don Barnett showed in the early 1970s, where he got in front of the issue and helped bring it to a public vote, then I did the same. And a week after the election, we had the first part of what's called an after-action review at the City Council meeting, and the City Council unanimously endorsed the following concept. Proceeding with an after-action review process that focuses on 4 key pieces. One is ultimately a lesser expensive project that addresses the Americans with Disabilities Act and related code fixes. It tries to reduce the impact on important events like the stock show and L&I and the South Dakota High School Athletic Association events and the powwow, and also addresses future marketability of the arena.
Steve, as you look back at all of the process that led up to that Civic Center vote, how do you feel about the way all of that went?
I think it was a tragedy. It was a communication failure. It was a leadership failure. Planning had been going on for 3 years. And what people I talk about remember about it was notice in the paper that there's going to be a special election. For 3 years, this mayor had information that he could have, if he chose to, push out to people in their homes, in their cars, to help them understand the process, to get feedback from them. Instead, we waited and we got feedback at the polls. It was $180 million. It was terribly overpriced for the repairs and the expansion that was needed. And this mayor was missing in action for all but 90 days of that. And he'll dispute that, but in about 90 days is when it first showed up on the City Council agenda with a presentation from him on the Civic Center. And as it went on, the vote was no, so now here we sit. And I think, frankly, that this issue could have been handled differently. In 2011, when this mayor was elected, he could have ordered that the ADA fixes at the Civic Center be completed, and it would have been done. We didn't have to go through this particular process and sign a contract of voluntary compliance with the federal government in order to get ADA fixed.
Sam, your response to that?
Well, I think there's several ways to look at it. And the way I look at it is based on the track record of what had been done previously. I felt that it was very important to get input from the community. We had no less than 4 different committees with many people involved in the process, and I empowered them to come up with a solution. I participated in the process, and once we had a solution that was ready to go, I helped circulate signatures to help put it on the ballot. I collected more signatures than anybody else involved in the petitioning process. I championed the vote, and I said to the voters, I'm going to respect your ultimate decision. And now I do respect the ultimate decision that the voters made. And now, as I've said before, we're back at square 6, not square 1. And now we're looking at moving forward with the 4 points that I outlined earlier.
So what do you want to see happen with the Civic Center from this day forward?
Well, as I mentioned previously, I think it's important that we look at the Americans with Disabilities Act fixes, and we also recognize the aging aspect of the arena and the fact that the arena has a lot of issues and it does struggle to accommodate current events. Do we need to come up with something that it's as big as what it was previously? No, but I don't think there's any need to apologize for having a big vision. We didn't shoot for the stars. We asked for permission to shoot for the stars, and now we're going to shoot for something less than that. And other communities shoot for the moon and hit the silo, and we're thinking big. And it's important to have a big vision, and it's important to take a stand, which is something that I did all along.
Steve, as you look forward from now, what would you like to see happen with the Civic Center from today, moving on?
Well, the clock is ticking on a 30-month contract with the federal government to fix the ADA issues. I think the goal here is to come up with a plan that addresses ADA repairs and also the inefficiencies of the Barnett Arena and come in way under $180 million. But whatever that figure is, we're still going to be required to borrow money for it. It's still going to need a significant funding package, and we're going to have to do something. I don't want Rapid City to have the next Corn Palace and let the Civic Center die off in this regional marketplace for entertainment and conferences.
There was a lot of debate as this went on about the combination of vision funds, capital improvement funds. Do you like the way that went? Did that need to be done differently, or does that work in the future?
I think it went fine. It was necessary to combine those 2 half pennies to up the city's credit rating to be able to borrow effectively. And now, as to whether or not we re-separate those pennies in the meantime, we will do so and lower our credit rating. And there are some consequences to that that haven't fully been communicated to the public again. But so I think that's as good as could be done with that was done. It was necessary.
And Sam, the separation of those 2 funds now making its way through City Hall and Council and committees. Where do you want to see that go? Did you like the way that happened?
Well, I think first of all, because both parts of that penny, the Capital Improvements Fund and the Vision Fund, are both currently pay-as-you-go funds, at this point it doesn't really make a difference. But our fire chief, Mike Maltevern, recently issued a memo to the council, and it's being discussed tomorrow at Legal and Finance, or soon at Legal and Finance, regarding keeping it together, because not only does it help the Civic Center, it also helps with fire stations and other city structures and items that the city needs where you have a capital improvements fund project that also needs funding from the Vision Fund.
Now, talking about that Vision Fund, also some controversy around there about what projects would not be able to happen if that large Civic Center project went on using some of that Vision Fund money. What do you see for the future of the Vision Fund?
Well, there's no question that whether you remove $37 million or $180 million from the revenue stream, that it's going to have an impact, and it comes down to a value judgment. And the value judgment is this, is we have an important piece of infrastructure, the Barnett Arena, that is failing and something needs to be done. And this was an issue of deferred maintenance that was kicked down the road for far too long. I and the current city council showed the leadership to address the issue. We went to the voters and asked for permission to implement a very large vision, and now we're going to have to come up with something that is also an exciting vision, but fits the theme of what the voters requested on March 10.
What do you see for the future of those Vision Fund monies?
Well, I think they're at risk. I think the Civic Center just happened to be the one public incident that brought that to a head. But aside from the Civic Center, whether we get away with spending $30 million or $70 million or whatever it is, we have many other huge projects that are likely to take some of those funds. Our aging Mountain View water treatment plant. It's not a matter of if it fails, it's when it fails. And it's in the 11th hour of its life. And that is going to cost tens of millions of dollars. It would be my hope that we wouldn't have to fund that thing by raising water bills by 50%. But I assume that's the current plan.
All right, we have to take another break. We'll be back in 2 minutes with this month's edition of Focus. I'm Jack Cottle. Welcome back to this month's edition of Focus, talking about this year's upcoming June 2nd Rapid City mayoral election. The two candidates are here. Current Mayor Sam Kooiker, looking for a third-term challenger Steve Allender, the former police chief. You know, we talked a lot about leadership coming from the mayor's office. How do you look, Steve, at your leadership, at your management style?
My management style, my leadership style is to empower others, to prepare others to do their jobs, to make sure the employees in the work groups are prepared, both in training and equipment and workspace and all the necessary tools they need, and to make sure they're briefed on how things go and to send them out into the workplace. When they make mistakes, we correct and we send them back out. I think you lead by example. You lead by taking the hard decisions on yourself. The leader, in my opinion, takes a little more of his share of the blame and a little less share of the credit. And it's a common sense leadership style that I've been using for 15 years or more. It is not micromanagement, and I know that the mayor has a reputation of micromanagement and of politicizing city work groups. That is the fastest way to make the work groups ineffective, is to make them feel the weight of politics on them. So I certainly won't be doing that.
Sam, how do you describe your leadership style, your management style? How does that translate to that mayor's position?
Well, I believe in managing by walking around, and I believe in being available, not walking around with a clipboard, of course, but walking around and being available to employees to address their concerns. I do agree that there was micromanagement scattered throughout the city code, hardwired into the city code, and we worked very hard as a director and city council team to address many of those issues. We've cut the number of committees from about 86 to 42. We've reduced the bill paying process from about 70 days to 30. We're no longer requiring developers and homeowners to send out certified letters to their neighbors on development issues or zoning issues. We now can use first-class mail that's sent out by staff, and many of these ideas have come from city staff themselves. And I really believe that one of the #1 causes of bureaucracy is fear, that if people don't know what's expected of them, if they don't know what the guy in the corner office is going, or gal in the corner office is going to do, then it's a lot easier to say that you're busy than to make a decision and take a risk and be chastised as a result. So I really believe in empowering our employees and giving them the tools that they need to do the job, and that means being willing to be challenged. It means being willing to be debated. Our director meetings are very robust. Our directors are willing to debate me. Our council members are willing to debate me, and I believe it's my role as mayor, as it comes to relating to the city council, that I should help create a set of processes where the city council can fight less and argue more, meaning taking some of the important but more mundane issues off the table, like raffles and event permits and business licenses, and being able to debate the real issues of the day and do so effectively.
Do you feel good right now about the way City Hall runs today?
I do, and I think, you know, people often compare us to the state legislature and say, well, how come you have the kind of arguments and the state legislature doesn't? Well, that's because the state legislature, for the most part, operates in closed caucus, and we operate out in the open. Our executive sessions have been reduced significantly. Our city council meetings are running a lot shorter than they used to, but we're still having very robust debates in the open that everybody can participate in.
Steve, how do you look at the way City Hall runs today? Does it run well?
Well, I think the mayor said a mouthful about he's satisfied with the way it's running. I haven't talked to a single developer, builder, contractor, businessman who doesn't have some story to tell about being held up at City Hall for 8 weeks over a permit. The mayor's asserted that Rapid City's got really easy permitting processes. When I get to talk to these people who have to get permits, they're still laughing about that because it takes a minimum of 8 weeks when you can get it anywhere else in the Black Hills in 2 or 3 weeks. There's planning commission meetings where a quorum doesn't show up, so they're off for another period of time. And unfortunately, stories of businesses wanting to move here, but after 6 months of waiting on the process, go somewhere else. I've run into 2 of those stories now, just in the last month or so. I don't think it's working well, and it's not because the people there are bad people or they're doing a bad job. But I think the direction and the politicization of the second floor and all the city offices has got people scared, and they're waiting around to see what the mayor will allow. And so I think it's running poorly, and it's a disservice to the people who work there.
Sam, let you respond to that quickly.
Well, I think it's running pretty well, and I'm the one candidate that's articulated a vision to help it run even better. And my vision is to continue streamlining. Why? Because customer service matters. Just a few weeks ago, we put the finishing touches on an ordinance to consolidate the Zoning Board of Adjustments and the Planning Commission, and that's important. That's important for our development community. Also, we are undergoing a process that's going to take a year or two to allow developers and home builders and other people that need access to our services to submit their plans via a thumb drive or a flash drive rather than having the scrolls of Alexandria walking up and down the staircase that cause a lot of expense. And so we worked very hard to streamline our processes. And of course, we're a regulatory environment, so there will always be issues that need to be addressed. But I'm the candidate in the race that has private sector business experience, and I understand how to operate in the private sector, and I've carried a lot of that into my activities as mayor. I have experience in Six Sigma and process improvement, and that's something that we've been putting into action with the help of our dedicated staff and council members.
Now, Steve, he's talking about what he did to improve City Hall. What would you do to fix things there, as you believe that is wrong?
I think we need to first gain the confidence of the employees back and isolate the hang-ups. We'll need public input for that, but there are a number of bottlenecks in City Hall, mainly with developers. And Rapid City right now is seen as anti-business. And who else could be responsible for being anti-business and hard to bring new businesses in than the guy at the top? So I would work to reverse the nonsense. The Zoning Board of Adjustments that he's talking about, streamlining, I've had nothing but input from people who require to go to that board that this is going to stretch out and delay their process. So apparently done with little or no feedback again. So I mean, it just has to be fixed. There has to be things done to make them efficient, make them give good customer service, and we don't have that right now.
Obviously, everybody wants development here in Rapid City. How poised are we for development here to continue to progress over time, for more development to come to town?
I believe that we're in a good position. One example would be the recent announcement by Black Hills Corporation to build a $70 million facility near Highway 16 and Catron Boulevard, and they cited it as one of the many reasons for coming to Rapid City, the easier permitting process. Another important initiative that we started back in 2011 was to run approximately 5.5 miles of water line, kitty corner from Downs Valley Market to Rapid City Regional Airport. And what that's going to do is it's going to help address fire flow issues at the airport. It's going to open up an entire area for economic development. It's also going to help neighborhoods like Valley View and Terracotta and Longview with water quality issues. And once that line is done, it's going to facilitate the installation of a new line to the wastewater treatment plant to provide water supply for that area. And so it's going to open up that entire region for additional development. It's exciting.
Steve, how are we set for what do we have to do to keep development moving forward here in town?
First thing we have to do is figure out a way to make it easier to move here. And we have to target the segment of the economy that was devastated in 2009 by the recession, and that is the manufacturing. We've lost $1 billion a year in economic output in manufacturing in 2009, and none of it's been regained since. We have got to do something about it. We can't sit on our hands any longer. Rapid City's economy is flat. And once you adjust for inflation, there's nothing to be excited about in Rapid City's economy. It needs work, it needs attention. And one of the things that needs to be done is we need to finally partner with South Dakota School of Mines and Technology and the Business Incubator, and we need to create a corridor of technology and intellectual property that will keep these engineers and researchers here, and from that come startup businesses. From that is other local businesses already up and running that can benefit from it. The School of Mines on average produces 7 new patents a year in the last 3 years. There are some big projects coming out of there, things that might change the world, but they have to go somewhere else to go to work. And that's a big link to the manufacturing sector as well.
Sam, what kind of plans do you have for forward progress?
Well, first of all, I think it's important to recognize that we've seen several industrial permits in the last few years. We've seen WL Plastics move to our community and build a large facility on Dias Avenue, and they're supplying high-density polyethylene pipe to the oil fields in Wyoming, North Dakota, and Colorado. And we have also seen an expansion in H.F. Webster. They've recently moved a very large piece of equipment for friction stir welding from Iowa and moved it here. So I think we're seeing exciting progress. I do agree that we've exported a fair amount of talent in our community from the School of Mines, and we've worked very hard with our new president, Heather Wilson, to help build an even greater connection to the School of Mines than we had before. And we have a great connection with the incubator and with economic development. And we do want to continue to see industrial development in our community, and we are seeing that. And what's even more exciting is we're seeing existing businesses also expand and grow. And we've seen the fourth year in a row of $200 million in building permits, and the building permits this year are going gangbusters as well. And we haven't seen any government permits yet. That's all private sector. So it's really exciting to see what's happening in our community. And yes, we can do more. We're going to continue to push forward to engage the business community and to encourage further industrial development and scientific growth in our community.
Now, every city around the country is competing for more jobs, more better paying jobs. What can the mayor do to try to help Rapid City win the battle for those positions?
Well, I think the battle is on multi-fronts, and first of all, I reject the view of the view of the hills pays half the bills. I believe people shouldn't have to pay a scenery tax to live in Rapid City, and we're working not only to address unemployment, but also to address underemployment, and that's by continuing to work to bring more industry here. Well, that creates a secondary issue or challenge, which is affordable housing. 15 years ago, you could buy a $60,000, a $70,000 house in Robbinsdale or other parts of Rapid City, and you can't do that anymore. And so I believe it's my role as mayor and our role as mayor and city council to streamline our processes and facilitate growth and economic development. And that's how prosperity occurs, by us ensuring that the development community and business community have the tools that they need to operate efficiently and effectively. To that end, we now have administrative approval of final plats. It used to be that final plats had to go through the Planning Commission and the City Council. One of our next proposals is to bring forward an ordinance to allow for administrative approval of preliminary plats, because platting is a function of state law and city ordinance, and it really doesn't need to go through the city council and mayor. Plan developments and other types of activities would still go through the council and the mayor, but we have an opportunity to further streamline our processes based on input from the business community, and that's what we're doing.
Steve, what can the mayor do? Try to bring those jobs, try to bring those better paying jobs here to this area?
Well, the mayor's got to reverse the reputation that we've gotten for being anti-business and anti-growth. And those aren't my words, trust me. That lies within the permitting, within the regulations. And as far as affordable housing goes, there is no affordable housing in Rapid City. And on the pace we're on right now, there never will be. Something happens, something magical happens in Rapid City during the building process that ends up making a house $10 more per square foot than any other house in neighboring communities. I'm trying to find out why now, but we have no plans for affordable housing, or if we do, it's just talk. We have to find a way to let a young family buy their first home for $75,000 in this town, and when we can do that, that might be able to control rents and other things that are on a ripple effect. But it's all fine to talk about doing this or that, but the numbers don't lie. Since 2009, we've gained virtually no output in manufacturing. And those are the jobs that don't pay minimum wage. Those are the jobs that have a greater effect on the local economy than other jobs that pay low.
All right, we have to take another break. We'll be back when we come back with this edition of Focus. I'm Jack Cottle. Welcome back to this month's edition of Focus. Previewing the June 2nd mayoral election here in Rapid City, Steve Allender is the challenger this time. He is the former Rapid City Chief of Police, and Sam Kooiker, the incumbent mayor, going for his third term in office here in Rapid City. I'm going to start with you, Sam. What's the biggest challenge that Rapid City faces right now?
Growth. And there's two types of growth. There's growth where we're seeing business come in to our community and people coming into our community, and we're also seeing growth happening within our community. And we're working on keeping up with our infrastructure, and that's a difficult task. We're spending approximately $33 to $34 million this year alone. That doesn't count the carryover from previous years to try to catch up with many of our infrastructure needs. But I would say growth is probably one of the largest challenges we face as a community, and it's also an exciting challenge.
So what's the solution to that challenge? What's the answer to that challenge?
Well, I think that the solution is to continue to provide the support for our city employees and for our business and engineering and development community to continue to provide what Rapid City needs in terms of our future growth. We have, in addition to the water line running out to the airport, that will facilitate additional growth and housing, hopefully lower priced housing. We also have a tremendous amount of revitalization taking place within our community. If you look at the area between 5th and 8th Street and north of St. Patrick Street, there's a number of houses in that area that have been rebuilt. So we're seeing a tremendous amount of revitalization and investment take place in our community, and I think our building permits reflect that.
Steve, as you look at it, what is the biggest challenge you see in Rapid City right now?
I think the biggest challenge is the lack of efficiency in government, and that's a ripple effect, and it comes out in ways like with road care and other issues. But the city has a poor relationship with Pennington County, for example. Pennington County just built a $20 million administration building there, and I don't believe 5 minutes of time was spent talking about the possibility of the city moving in with. City's busting at the seams in the school administration building, and but that's because we don't do that. That's because we don't talk that way with the county. And instead of making things better, we make things worse with them. They just punished us by taking away economic development money because of the way the Civic Center was handled. We've had a downturn in the relationship with Pennington County because of the election last year, 1 year ago. The election, when Sam used his voice to make robocalls to try to unseat 2 elected county officials. It wasn't him that noticed the big riff, it was the employees who try to work together. That was a huge separation between city and county. So while we've got our attention focused on what the other person is doing, things are happening around us like growth, like deteriorating roads, like sluggish economy, all of these things, and a divided community. We have a divided community, and it's getting worse. It's worse now than it was 4 years ago. It's worse on the council. It's worse within City Hall. It trickles down from there onto the streets of Rapid City. One of our big challenges is getting this community back together again.
So how do you do that? How do you bring them back together?
Well, you have to do that by being true to your philosophy of mending fence, making good relationships, working together cooperatively for a common goal. The city, county, state, federal can all work hand in hand to provide taxpayers a great value. And the taxpayers win every time when government agencies cooperate. It takes a simple memorandum of understanding we can combine a city and county office for a period of time in order to evaluate it, to reduce some duplication. We can do things to force better relationships with intergovernment agencies. And this Native American issue's got to be addressed differently and quickly. It can't be put off again. It's got to be now.
Sam, he talks about a city-county rift. Do you see that city-county rift as he does?
No, I think that there's give and take that happens between various units of government. I have a very good relationship with our County Commission Chairman, Lindell Peterson. He's a good friend of mine. I've known him for a very long time. And I think we also have a great relationship with our fellow mayors. Once a month I meet with the mayors and we rotate communities, and we remove the parochial mindset of our boundaries stop at the boundaries of our community, and we now believe that what's good for Belle Fourche or Spearfish is good for Rapid City and vice versa. And so we're working to bring our entire region together as one community. We recently put together the Rushmore Regional Rushmore Region Rail Authority, which required the cooperation of 4 entities, and the entities are Pennington County, Box Elder, Wall, and Rapid City, and that was a unanimous effort of everybody working together.
Now, there's a lot of talk always about open government, about transparency. Do you feel like you've achieved that?
Well, I believe it's an ongoing endeavor, and to that end, we've reduced the amount of our executive sessions. We're having more robust debates in council than ever before. Some interpret that as fighting. I interpret that as debating. And is there a certain amount of friction? Of course. Friction is what makes a tire, operate on a car. And if you don't have friction, you're just going to basically spin your tires. Now, I believe, as I've said before, I believe it's the role of the mayor to encourage a set of processes so that the city council can feel free to have robust debates, and our city employees to have robust debates, and to come up with ideas on how to make city government operate even better. I've articulated my vision, and to sum it up in one line or one sentence, I believe that city government should operate like an iPhone. You tap on it and it should respond quickly and effectively, and we're moving in that direction.
Is open government transparency happening here, in your opinion?
No, in my opinion, it's not. After 4 years in office, the mayor should have a regional-wide reputation for open and honest government, but it's not open and honest. Ask a news reporter if it's open and honest. Ask the people working at City Hall if it's open and honest. It's ironic that the mayor who runs on the platform open and honest is not open and honest. He's got a list of reporters that he won't talk to because they don't ask the right questions. He's got things I myself caught him telling things that weren't true. There's just no way around it. After 4 years, this is as good as it's going to get. Whatever reputation there is now will be the best you can expect from here on out. And so that open and honest thing might have been more of a gimmick at the time, because it's not happening in City Hall.
Is it happening?
Well, of course. I'm issuing weekly updates to all of our city employees, and giving each department an opportunity to list in that update what's happening in their various departments. In addition to that, we have frequent or quarterly progress reports, and the next one is coming out soon. And the city council is a part of much of what we do. And as I've said before, I believe it's the role of the mayor to listen to the council, to listen to the community, and come up with ideas for helping to move the process forward. I don't have experience in running a paramilitary organization, but I do have experience in running private sector organizations, and I've taken that experience and plus my council experience and help move our city forward as mayor.
All right, we got to take one more break. We'll wrap this all up when we come back with this month's edition of Focus. I'm Jack Cottle. Welcome back to this month's edition of Focus. The June 2nd Rapid City mayoral election coming up. Incumbent Sam Kooiker and challenger Steve Allender will be in the race there. I guess, first of all, Steve, what is the main difference between you two candidates?
Leadership and accountability. I have a reputation. I'm willing to stand on that. I care about the people, I care about the organization, but mostly I care about the taxpayers. I provide good taxpayer value. I always tell the truth. I never refuse an interview. I'm accessible. I think credibility. I think there's a credibility problem in the mayor's office and in City Hall, and I do not suffer from that problem.
Sam, what do you see is a difference between you two candidates?
Well, what I see as a difference is I have a very strong track record of doing the job, and I have a strong track record of moving the city forward and moving it forward in a collaborative way. I really believe that it's my responsibility to listen to the council, to listen to the community, and to come up with ideas. And my opponent talks about unity being the central theme of the campaign for him, and I respectfully submit that unity for the sake of unity is the bus to Abilene. Unity without a moral compass is the Wannsee Conference, and unity without a vision and all the information is the Bay of Pigs. I mean, we need to have a robust debate and argument within our governing board. It's set up where you have the mayor and the city council, and it's set up to have a robust debate, and I believe I've helped facilitate that, and we're functioning better than we have in a long time.
All right, I got about 1 minute for each of you here. I guess simply in about 1 minute, why should people vote for you on June 2nd?
Well, I believe in positive, people-focused government, and one thing about me, people have learned that they can come up to me and they can express their concern, and I will follow up. We might not always agree, but people want a mayor who's open, they want a mayor who's accessible, and they want a mayor who will listen, and I believe that I've provided that, and I'm the one candidate in the race that's articulated a positive, exciting vision for moving the community forward.
I'm impressed, a candidate coming in less than their allotted time. You don't see that often. Steve, why should people vote for you on June 2nd?
Well, first of all, you can't have a vision to say, I'm going to keep doing what I've always been doing. That's not a vision, that's a task list. A vision for Rapid City, in my mind, is to say, Rapid City is a wonderful place. And then you identify the roadblocks to Rapid City being a wonderful place. And that's the things we're talking about, the streets and the economy and the relations and all of these kind of things. People should vote for me because I know how to lead. I know how to build teams. I don't divide work groups. I have a strong reputation, strong training in leading government organizations, and I can win the public's confidence back in city government. And I will communicate.
All right, you guys both came up short. I guess regardless of who somebody vote for, why is it important that they get out and vote, whether it's for you or for Sam? Just go out and vote for somebody.
Because you get a say. You get to say. Rather than be upset with the outcome, you need to get out there and practice something that people in other countries don't have the privilege of practicing, and it's an honor to vote, honor to pay attention to what's going on in your community, and it's a civic duty.
Sam, whether it's for you or for Steve, why do they need to get out and vote on the 2nd or before then?
Well, it's important for people to participate in local government. John Thune and Mike Rounds and Dennis Dugard are all very important people, and I respect them, but they can't fix a pothole on a street, and they can't make sure we have good water in our swimming pools or send a police car to the house. And it's important to have involvement in local government, and we've had low voter turnouts in the past, and we're hoping for a very robust voter turnout this year.
All right. Sam Kooiker, Steve Allender, thank you guys very much for coming up, and thank you for sitting here for a full hour. I know that's a long time to go
My
over
pleasure.
that. But,
Thanks for having
try
us.
to get all that information out. And again, remind you to get out and vote. Early voting starts, as you said, May 18th.
I believe so.
I believe May 18th, somewhere around that area. And again, the main election on June 2nd, right here in Rapid City. And that will do it for us for this month's edition of Focus. Hope to see you again the first Sunday night of next month. Good night.